Dungeons and Dragons Adventurer. Issue 18. So the 18th issue's here, let's just get straight into it, and it's time to become a villain. To start with, we're going to look at the dice set. So we've got another tin of dice, although these dice look much better than the standard plain ones you get in the tin. Take off the little plastic thing. And look at these look really nice. Got D&D logo on them. And a nice little blue design. Quite like these. D20 there, D4, little D12. Yeah, I like these ones. Why all the sets couldn't have been nice like this, I don't know. These fancy ones I quite like, all the plain ones I don't. More dice, I guess. Anyway, moving on, let's get into the magazine. As you can see in this issue, we're going to get some interesting stuff for DM, like role-playing villains and running mysteries, both of which are going to be relevant for the encounter by the sounds of it. It's a mystery encounter with a villain. We've got the rest of the druid stuff, hermit, which I think was also the druid background, maybe, can't quite remember. And then a bit more of lore, and we get some stylish blue dice. So to start with, we're going to look at role-playing the villains, like this guy here. And while you get a lot of one-off foes, their single combat, boss adventure, arch nemesis stuff, it also gives you role-playing villain info like, oh, when you're doing a direwolves party or something like that. Describe with a unique feature like a long claw or battered or something, rather than just direwolf 1, 2, and 3. Which seems alright, although we used to just go orc, orc, orc. Didn't even number them, so you had no idea which was which. It's also got a similar approach. If you've got intelligent monsters, you can give them traits to make them more memorable, such as giving a couple of ogres a simple personality. Considering something similar to that scene in The Hobbit, where you've got the trolls and Bilbo, and each of them's a bit different. Something like that. The best way to do it is consider all the villains' motivations. So all the villains are going to have a master plan of some kind, and all their actions should be doing stuff to work towards that. But you can make it personal, so they have connections. You can use classic tropes, so they're classic for a reason, just any traits or motivations from your favourite fictional baddies. And they don't always have to be completely evil. They could have complex motivations, they could be under a thrall, they could be avenging a loved one, they could have a loved one that you can't really take them hostage because that's not the heroic thing to do. Rather than just being completely evil, maybe there's a reason they're evil, a good reason, you know what I mean. Now we've got something interesting with running mysteries. So actually, there is a mystery introduced in this encounter, and does have a spoiler alert that some of the stuff talked in here will be relevant to the encounter. So this bit's going to actually be towards the end of the video with the rest of the DM stuff. It'll be time-stamped, but so if you're planning on running the adventure as a player, just use the chapters to skip ahead. And then you can come back and have a look after you've run the encounter if you really want to know. So that bit's just covered up for now. We're going to talk about the Druid Level 2 features, or continue with the Druid features for Level 2. And this is obviously talking about the Druid's wild shape, which is basically they can transform themselves into any animal forms that they've seen before. So this is, I'm assuming just for second level, gets better later on. They can do it twice, and when they finish a short or long rest, they'll gain uses back. It's got some restrictions to start. It can't have a chance rate of more than a quarter, and it can't have a flying or swimming speed. This is why we had to wait to get wild shape details. It got its whole own page because it's got all these rules that you've got to follow and learn. The druid can be wild shaped for up to a number of hours, half their level. So a level 2 druid can do it for 1 hour. Your stats are going to get replaced by beast stats for like the physical stuff, but intelligence, wisdom, and charisma stays the same. It's got a lot of stuff about saving throws and benefits normally stay the same, but if the creature's proficient in higher than yours, use the creature's ones. You become it, so it's all the physical stuff, so you get like their hit dice and hit points. But if you're knocked out or your hit points drop to 0 as a beast, you'll go back to normal form, but you can take extra damage over that. You can't cast spells, you can't speak or take any actions that the beast you're in couldn't do normally. If the beast possible, it can use any of your class features as long as it's able to, otherwise they're unable to you. Same as special senses. If the beast's got dark vision, you can use dark vision. If it can't, but you had dark vision, you lose that dark vision ability while you're in wild shape. And your equipment either falls to the ground, transforms into the beast, or the beast is wearing it. I didn't even consider about combat possibilities, but it does actually have some more details over here. So you could be a badger because it's got dark vision and burrowing. A cat, so you can sneak around a city without suspicion. A riding horse because it doubles your speed and you can carry another party member. Spiders are small and climb to spaces. A weasel's got a +5 bonus to dexterity stealth checks and hearing and smell. And so on. All it says is to remember that discuss with your DM beforehand what creatures you've seen, so you've got a list of what you can change into, plus any creatures you might encounter in your adventures. And now we get a couple of stat blocks here for the badger, the cat, the riding horse, the weasel, the spider, and the wolf. The hermit background. This is for the characters who prefer the quiet life, which is a bit obvious really if you think about it. It's good thematic fit for a monk character who spent years mastering the martial arts in the remote mountaintops, or anyone else, such as the druid we've got. Could have chosen to be a hermit and live in solitude. You could have been exiled. You may have just been the last remaining survivor from some sort of massacre in the middle of nowhere and had to fend for yourself. They're not necessarily nomadic or religious, but they are defined by an extended period of seclusion. The default mode for the hermit is they're withdrawn or reserved, only speaking in grunts, but it doesn't have to define them, that's just default. And your hermit could have made a discovery during their seclusion, which will be relevant to the hermit benefits. They're proficient in religion and medicine, and their feature is discovery. During their years of thoughtful isolation, they've been privy to powerful and unique revelation. So it's got some great narrative potential for the character and the campaign. Although I don't remember on our hermit druid stat block seeing any sort of revelation thing. I might double check, or they might have just not included it for now, unless it comes up in the encounter. Anyway, let's go to the monster lore, and that's going to be devils today. So all the devils, like this guy here, they're going to come from the 9 hells. And devils are actually a subcategory of fiends. So you get demons who are pure chaos and reside in the abyss, and in the devils are the creatures of law from the 9 hells. But all because they're law, don't think that they're nice. That just means they follow a hierarchy instead of descending into chaos. They're still just as deadly as all the demons. So you see, the devils are the ones that will normally interact with mortals, giving them some sort of deals. And then, yeah, that's a lawful. They'll always defer to those of higher rank, all the way up to Asmodeus, who's the infernal dictator. There are some things, so if you get a devil's true name or a devil talisman, you could bind it to your service, but it's always a risk because it's always just going to be waiting to strike back at you when the time is right. We can see that hell's quite complicated. It's got several layers and it's got several ranks. When you arrive into hell, the first layer is Avernus, commanded by Zariel. And each layer of hells can only be reached by passing through the previous one, most often via the river Styx. With the ranks of the devils we're going to find, such as Lemurs, who are the lowest of the low in the 9 hells. Then we get the lesser devils, obviously. These are where you might find imps, bone devils, bearded devils. Then we get the greater devils, which is horned devils, ice devils, pit fiends. Archdevils, who are like the top dogs, such as Belial and Fernia, who oversee the 4th hell, or previous ruler such as Bel or Tiamat. And at the very top, Asmodeus, the Archduke of Nessus, the 9th hell, and the tyrant lord of every devil in existence. And some people, such as those in Faerun, consider him to be a lesser god. Leaving devils, we move to our faction for the issue, which is the City Watch. So, maybe not devil related, maybe it is, who knows. While this is the City Watch faction, it's actually multiple smaller factions to make it up. So each city is going to have their own City Watch. So in Faerun, you've got the Silver Watch of Silvery Moon, Winter Shield Watchmen of Neverwinter, the Green and Gold Uniform Force, which are these guys, and they patrol the streets of Waterdeep, the City of Splendors. Each is the same. The City Watch, even though they may be called something different and dressed different, they're still there to protect their cities and always have mixed feelings about them from the residents of the local place. With your City Watch, you get some watch talk. What befalls? Hold, down arms, talk truth, robes. They're all sort of slang you'll find when you're dealing with the City Watchmen. And it gives you a little box down here, how to enlist as well. Enlisting could make your adventure into kind of like a cop show, but if the playing characters really want to, there's a long training process. They have to do road patrol, sentry duty, garrison duty. It could be quite boring. I imagine normally you'd get sort of a temporary joining situation rather than enlisting properly. Anyway, it's encounter time. Well, it would be, but first we just need to pop back in the issue a few pages. Now, welcome back to the running mysteries section from earlier. So all this is going to be is quickly going through this page. And mysteries give DMs a chance to play detective, although shouldn't that be the players play detective? I'm not sure, but it's the core of fantasy stories. You want it to be something like players find all the clues and piece them together. And actually that just makes the encounters a bit better than just in combat. It gives you a bit more going on. First up for your mystery, what crime's been committed? So you've got to decide what's been committed, who's done it, what's their reasons for it. In this issue, the scroll's been stolen. Xandri, the scholar, stole it because his son is being threatened by cultists. Also, as well as the motive, so there we need a means and opportunity, which in this case, means was he knows the key and opportunity was he was working. Then just give some other persons of interest. So if you've only got the one NPC fleshed out, the players are obviously going to be able to quickly deduce who's behind it. So you need a couple more, and you want to also give them means and opportunities and motives. They don't all need it, but just to throw them off the scent a bit, especially if you can make them act a bit suspicious. The clues box is the best bit on the page. It's saying obviously you can get physical clues, you might find stuff in rooms, you can get verbal clues, statements from witnesses or suspects. So the verbal clues can just be whatever you say in the dialogue, or it could actually be something the players have to make a check to get out. So you could have a conversation where you just name drop a couple of key facts that are incorrect, say, or you could have your players have got to do some sort of like intimidation check to get information, or a bribery roll. Although you don't want to keep it all locked behind checks because you want the players to solve the mystery. So perhaps you want to give the best clues locked behind DC checks and all the rest are just free to find, and just overwhelm them with more clues than they need. Does the best advice at the bottom. When in doubt, have a man come through the door with a crossbow in his hand and a clue in his pocket. So if the players still aren't getting it, just keep force feeding them clues through combat. Best way to do it. And now we're back at the encounter for the issue. So this is Internal Affairs, 4 second level characters, 1 to 2 hours. And the encounter view, cultists serving the Infernal Lord of 9 Hells have driven a scholar from the House of Knowledge to steal a skull scribed with a devilish spell. Now the House of Knowledge is in chaos. So to begin our encounter, Thalia Ashfield is going to come along to meet the party. If we didn't meet her in encounter 16, then Oren Greywind's going to accompany to introduce her. She wants to get in the House of Knowledge, but she can't because of new security measures. So she's going to pay the party 300 GP to solve the mystery so she can get in. When you get there, you're going to find a lawful neutral human guard, and the first of many DC checks to try and charm your way in, deception or persuasion. If the players can't do it though, you will get in because the elf will just use a sleep spell. Inside you're going to get Ada, who's a commoner. There's a lot of commoner stat blocks in here. We'll let you know a spell scroll stolen, and that you saw the thief, but it was only a tall, broad-shouldered silhouette. And then when you investigate the house, there's all these random clues, and you'll just get various different clues as you're investigating. And eventually you'll get to any scholar can tell you when Xandri lives, because you might start to work him out. Scholar also reveals this if a character lies to try to find information, and then makes a successful DC 13 charisma deception check. But eventually you have to get most of the clues. You run into Muddock, who is the lieutenant and doesn't want the party there, so he'll kick you out unless you can do a DC 15 charisma check deception. Although a DC 13 group dexterity stealth check, you can avoid him anyway. And then when you go to confront Xandri, he'll reveal that yes, he did steal the scroll, but he did it because of the Ashmadi. You remember these guys? We had the rumour about them back in issue 16, and now it's come to pass. And these are a bit like almost like terrorists because they work in pods, so they know everyone else in their pod, but no one else in different pods. And each pod's got a superior pod who they know the leader of. And the NPC of the Ashmadi is actually used later in the campaign, so we need to keep it quiet for now. Keep the culture out of the mystery for the players. We move on to get to the cultist residence now. So here you can see his nice little ground floor with his secret basement where he's going to be hiding all his stuff. Going inside, we've got a fat rat smell of sulphur. It's actually a polymorphed imp. You get to explore us a bit. Interestingly to note, his nice little toilet here. Rat's washroom filled with pickled spell components, ash and sulphur. Are they kept in the washroom, or have you investigated far too far? Who knows? Who knows? But anyway, yeah, eventually, either in storage or the wine cellar, you'll find a secret switch so you can get into the shrine, where you're going to find an infernal fanatic whose stats are a bit later. If you've got Thalia with you, you're actually going to fight the cultists and 2 more imps. Obviously, she adds to the challenge rating a little bit then. And then once you defeat him, too late, the scroll has already been copied. Then he just explodes in a sulphurous fireball. So once you get your spell scroll back, you can search the room to find some items worth some gold pieces, and Thalia can convince the Ogmanites to give you a scroll of protection. And the infernal calling spell, there's quite a lot of information there. And basically, the scroll there, you can cast it if it's on your spell list. You can't cast it if it's not, it's unintelligible. And if it's a higher level than normally cast, you need a DC 10 plus the spell's level, which is 15 to cast. If you don't, it just disappears with no effect. Infernal Calling is actually a 5th level conjuration spell, and all it's going to do is you actually summon a demon up to challenge rating 6. There's quite a lot of stuff here, so it's unfriendly towards you, and it's controlled by the Dungeon Master. You can give it commands, and if it follows with what the demon's nature wants it to do, or to make you towards evil, it will do. Otherwise, you have to persuade it with a charisma check of deception, intimidation, persuasion, with advantage if you know its true name. Anyway, if you pass the check, it's going to go do your action and come back and report back. If you fail, it's immune to your verbal commands, although it will still do what you ask it if it lines up with it, like before. Then when the spell expires, if you fail to check at any point, the creature doesn't disappear and instead remains for up to 18 minutes, acting as ever it chooses. If you're lucky enough to have the Devil Talisman, you can summon the Devil up to 1+ the challenge rating, and it obeys all your commands, no check required. So the Devil Talisman is much better than knowing the Devil's true name. What's this? A 7th page? There's actually so many stat blocks and spells information. They've actually added 7th and 8th page. Every other adventure up till now has been 6 pages long exactly. Now this one is 8 pages. So we get our Scroll of Protection info here. This is Scroll of Protection Fiends. Move on to our Bard stat block, who looks very similar to the previous Bard stat block. Our Infernal Fanatic over here, medium humanoid, any non-god alignment, any species. Looks to be a cleric though, because the spell list has got light, command, inflict wounds, and the cleric's the only one that can cast all 3 of those. And uses wisdom as a spellcasting ability. Fanatic has multi-attack with short sword. And interestingly, Sacred Flames listed here, even though it is actually spellcasting, but it's not listed as a spellcasting. Not certain why. And you get Hellish Rebuke twice a day. And finally, on the back page, we get all the stats for our Imp, who obviously importantly is a shape changer, as we did find it as a rat in the original encounter. That was that for issue 18. Next up, we're going to have issue 19. Some more dice, some more stuff to do that. And some evil aliens, or alien evils. Whoops. So if you stuck around this far, as per usual, if there'll be links popping up here if you want to follow the magazine, links popping up here to follow the series. But thanks for watching. I hope to catch you soon.